Hi guys, this is my review for the 200th episode of NCIS titled Life Before His Eyes. I'm really conflicted over this episode. Part of me just wants to be like, this is the best episode ever. The other part of me just wants to nitpick and complain. Because this episode was so hyped, probably the most hyped episode in recent memory. So because of this, I expect this episode to alter the universe of this show and put me on an emotional roller coaster. And it did a little. Regardless, this will be an episode that we remember when we reflect on the show as a whole for two reasons. One, because it was a milestone, and two, because it was just so weird. It just gets points for taking a risk and thinking outside the box. You know, it's a good weird, like the first time you put your feet in Jell-O weird. So let's break this episode down. In the teaser we had, as expected, the scene of Gibbs getting shot. But before the bullet can make contact with Gibbs's pea coat, it freezes in mid-air like the Matrix or something. And this is followed by possibly my favorite part of this whole episode. The really crazy summary of Gibbs's life. Holy crap, it felt like a thrill ride or something. I think I just grasped the side of my bed for support. It was so much awesome, I got whiplash. So Gibbs is in a suddenly way more well-lit version of the diner, and Franks is there, and he's like, what is going on? And I'm wondering that too, and I'm suspecting that Gibbs is dead. Because I've already decided in my mind that the diner is like purgatory or something. Anyway, it appears the diner is filled with everyone important in Gibbs's life. Friends, enemies, everyone, even a younger version of himself. So Franks walks up, and I have a silent fangirl moment because I love Franks, and they should never have killed him off. He's amazing. So Franks flicks the Matrix bullet out of the way, like a boss, and sets up the episode. Hi, my name is Mike Franks, and I will be your guide as we explore the decisions of your life. Roll the credits. So Franks and Gibbs have a seat at a booth at the Matrix diner, and Gibbs is having a look around, and there's Jenny, who seems to have been digitally manipulated into the shot. And personally, I did a whole because I was not expecting that, and it looked a little weird. Like, is it real? Could I touch it? What is that? What is that? Anyway, so Gibbs gets a menu and it has 3 items on it. Steak, coffee, and whiskey. That's right, in Gibbs's world, this is the only sustenance available. Orange juice and scrambled eggs? That's for pussies. This is Gibbs's break from reality. And this is also America. And we're having steak and coffee and we're washing it down with whiskey. And we are not apologizing. I think that menu just changed my whole opinion of this episode. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's gold. It's perfect. So anyway, we flash back 24 hours before Gibbs was shot, and the trio is messing around in the squad room setting up the Beast story as usual. I'm sorry, but could we have just gone without that for one episode? This episode didn't need that. No one except the most passionate McGee fans cared about that storyline. It was overshadowed by way too much awesome. There's also a case in this episode. I mean, I see why it's there. I see why it's needed, but I literally had to force myself to pay attention to that storyline. It just couldn't compete with all the AU alternate universe stuff that was going on. I just kind of wish they had condensed the case a little bit further. You know, condense the actual investigation stuff, keep the stuff about the sun because it's important. So anyway, there's 2 dead bodies on a Navy ship. Let's go back to the diner. Franks tells Gibbs that he earned this little break from reality by making some really tough decisions in life. Meanwhile, Vance and Ari are playing chess. That gets some applause. I just liked that. That was just great. So Franks takes Gibbs to the big squad room in the sky or something. And on Kate's old desk there's photos of her and Tony, and Franks is all, hey, what if Kate wasn't dead? And then they recreated the scene from Twilight where Kate got shot. It was really well done, and I loved how they changed Tony's line to, you're not going to Pilates tomorrow, and that was not point blank range. Nice correction. So back at the diner, Franks is eating eggs. Where did he get eggs? We've established there's no scrambled eggs in this world. And Franks is all, this time you protect your team and Kate doesn't die. And I'm like, what's with the guilt trip, Franks? Why are you being so mean? So we get another AU scene. So Tony has just missed the birth of his child. He rushes into the hospital and yay, Kate is the mother of his baby. If you've seen my previous video, we were a little worried about the mother possibilities, but thankfully it is Kate. Thank God. Or thank Gibbs. This scene induced a strong mixed reaction. Because on one hand, it's like, oh my god, Tate baby! But on the other hand, it's like, oh my god, it's so clearly Kate from SWAC. What? Visually, it worked surprisingly well. So I guess they couldn't take the echo out of her voice because her what kind of sounded weird and didn't really fit with the dialogue of the other characters, like it didn't have the same sound. But hey, I mean, pulling it off to the degree they did, that is quite the achievement. As part of this AU, we also get the scene of Tony interrogating Ziva. And we get to see what she would have been like without Gibbs's influence. It was far too brief, but Cody did do a different accent, which was nice. And back to present day, sort of, we learn more about the case. Something about treason. And we get to visit Abby in her lab and see Palmer's abs. That was also nice, and Abby provides Gibbs with a suspect. Back to the diner. Franks has disappeared, and Gibbs's new guide is his mother, Ann Gibbs. Getting to meet Gibbs's mom was really cool. I love how she's like, I'm just gonna wrap up this slice of pie here so you can take it back with you when you return to reality. Such a mom thing to do. Honey, you're about to get shot. Here's some pie. Also, Gibbs's mom was a ginge. So many backyard hack psychological opinions I has. So back in yesterday's reality, we learned that McGee got a job offering from Director Vance. Why is this in my 200th episode? This could have been in any other episode. It didn't have to be in this episode. I'm sorry, I don't hate McGee, but I don't care. He can move to Japan. I really hope this is foreshadowing or building to something, because otherwise it was just a waste of time. So Ziva goes to talk to the suspect's son, who immediately tries to bludgeon her with a lacrosse stick. Ziva easily ducks the blow and subdues him. And then she says, I don't play lacrosse. I love that. I think it's a very Gibbs line. So Gibbs finishes his visit with his mom, where they talk about how Gibbs has to decide whether to shoot or not to shoot. And his next visitor is Riley McAllister, the evil ex-NCIS agent from Engaged. Gibbs makes a Christmas Carol reference, and Riley lets Gibbs know that by no certain terms is he happy to be here. Why'd you freaking summon me out of hell to your subconscious Matrix diner? I was busy. Fine, if I have to be here, I'm gonna remind you about how you murdered Pedro Hernandez in Mexico. Not so high and mighty now, are you? Side note, I apologize for my atrocious southern accent. So Riley presents an AU where Gibbs didn't kill Pedro. Hi guys, so my camera died, so if you're wondering why the lighting is different or my hair is slightly flatter, it's because it's 4 hours later. 4-hour time jump. It's crazy. Back to the review. So my biggest complaint about this episode, and I'm just gonna get it out of the way, was the criminal underuse of Aerie. Why couldn't the ghost of NCIS past be Aerie? Riley wasn't bad, but I stand by the fact that Aerie is one of the key players in NCIS lore. I understand that the chances of Lauren Holly being in this episode were slim to none, and hey, it looks like they actually couldn't get Sasha Alexander back to do a cameo. But Rudolph Martin, sorry if I'm butchering that name, was willing to come and hang out and play extra for a day. At the very least, you could have thrown him a line. Why would you pick Riley over Aerie? No. Your argument is invalid. It should have been Aerie. So Franks apparently just stepped out for a smoke, and now he's back. And he's all, Riley was here? Who let that opinionated jackass out of hell? We were having a civilized hallucination here. So Frank shows Gibbs what his life would have been like if he'd never gotten his revenge on Pedro. And as it turns out in this AU, Gibbs becomes the team's deadbeat alcoholic father, complete with a dirty shirt and an unkempt beard. It was a great scene, great acting all around. I especially loved Ducky. What do you want? I can't do it justice, but I just love the delivery of that line. So back in yesterality, the suspect is captured and confesses to Gibbs. And back to the diner, which is way more interesting. So Gibbs's final visitors is his family, his girls, Shannon and Kelly. Wait, can I just say one thing? My parents couldn't send me to college either, but they didn't commit treason. My sister and I got loans like other poor people. Anyway, okay, diner. And Shannon's all, if we didn't die, you wouldn't have joined NCIS. No Tony, no Ziva, no team. And no McGee. No one cares about McGee. And Shannon shows Gibbs an AU in which she and Kelly receive the news that he's dead. It was so well done. So reality has caught up with itself, and if you haven't guessed who the shooter is by now, it's the kid. It was kind of a flimsy theory, but I kind of hoped it was someone we knew who would shoot Gibbs. But as soon as we saw the kid, I kind of figured it was going to be him. So Gibbs has to figure out whether or not he's going to shoot the kid. The poor little kid who just wants to go to university and play lacrosse. So the kid shoots him. And Gibbs is like, oof, that stings. That bullet's going to leave a mark. I'm gonna feel that tomorrow. And the kid's crying, and Gibbs is just like, Steven? And Steven decides to lower his gun, and two guys quickly subdue and disarm him. And Steven is like crying and apologizing, and I'm just laughing. Something about him crying just made me laugh. I don't know what it is. I guess I'm just heartless. Although that kind of reaction, the apologizing and the crying, it's not unrealistic. A lot of people, after they shoot someone or commit a crime, there's a lot of crying and apologizing. They're not all badass and evil. But did Steven decide not to shoot Gibbs a second time because he was sorry? Or because he realized that Gibbs is immortal and mere bullets do not work, and he started groveling instead? But seriously, Gibbs did show that he was hurting a little bit, but he goes to work the next day. The next day. I mean, I know he's Gibbs, but the next day, like probably less than 24 hours. I mean, was that like a bulletproof hoodie or something? I mean, remember when Ares shot Gerald in the shoulder? That guy needed surgery, physical therapy. It was 2 years before that guy went back to work. Well, I guess he didn't adhere to that strict diet of coffee, steak, and whiskey. So in conclusion, I think I'm just gonna give it 5 out of 5 calf bows. I just really don't give enough 5s. I don't think I've given a 5 since I started doing these. And really, any issues I had with this episode were just a result of me overhyping it for myself. And Ari and Kate were in it, so it's already just overflowing with bonus points. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one thinking this, but this really needed to be a 2-hour episode. Like NCIS 200th episode, the 2-hour television event. Really, you can't cram 9 seasons into 45 minutes. One other thing. McGee was not with Tony, Ziva, and Abby in the booth in the beginning of the episode. Was this because he was currently deciding whether or not to move to Japan? No one cares about McGee. Fine. And we are not apologizing! There's my room, a wall, and a stairwell. I think there's people out there, and I think they think I'm crazy.